Jai Mahamaya ki jai, Vishveshvari Mati ki jai. Go on with chapter 8 from book 9. Narada said, Narayana said, a part of Sarasvati descended to the Bharata Punya Bhumi, land of merits, owing to the curse of Ganga, and she remained full in Vishnu's region, the abode of Vaikuntha. She is named Bharati on account of her coming to Bharata. She is called Brahmi because she is dear to Brahma, and she is called Bani as she presides over speech. Vishnu is seen everywhere, in tanks and wells in running streams. Because he resides in Saras, there he is called Sarasvata. Vani is the Shakti as Sarasva, therefore she is denominated as Sarasvati. The river Sarasvati is a very sacred tirtha. She is the burning fire to the fuel of sins and of sinners, O Narada. Through the curse of Saraswati, the Devi Ganga also assumed the form of a river in part. She was brought down to this earth at the request of Bhagirathas, hence she is called Bhargarathi. While Ganga was rushing down the earth, Shiva, capable to bear the great rush of her, held her on his head at the request of Mother Earth. Lakshmi also, through the curse of Saraswati, came in part to Bharata as the river Padmavati, but she remained in full with Vishnu. Lakshmi appeared also in her other part as the well-known daughter Tulsi of the king of Dharmabhaja in India. Last of all, through Bharati's curse and by the command of Sri Vishnu, she turned into the Tulsi tree, purifying the whole world. Remaining for 5,000 years of Kali Yuga, all of them will quit their river appearances and go back to Vishnu. By the command of Sri Vishnu, all the tirthas, save Kashi and Bhadravana, will go along with them to Vaikuntha. Next, at the expiry of 10,000 years of Kali Yuga, Saigram Sila, the stone place worshipped as Narayani, Shiva, and Shiva Shakti and Purasukma, will leave the soil of Brata and go with their respective places. There will then cease to be the saints, Shaktis, Ganapatas, Vinashas, sex, 18 Puranas, the blowing of conch shells, auspicious signs, excuse me, Shraddhas, Tarpanas, and all the rites and ceremonies dictated by the Vedas. The worship and glorification of the gods, the recitation of their praises, their names will be extinct. The Vedas with their angas will no longer be heard. All these will disappear with them. The assemble of the siddhas, the true dharma, the four Vedas, the village devas and devis, the vows, the practicing of the austerities, fasting, all will disappear. All will be addicted to the vamakara, the rituals of drinking wine and eating flesh, etc. They will speak falsehood and be deceitful. If anybody worships, his worship will be void of Tulsi leaves. Almost all will be deceitful, cruel, vain, egoistic, thievish, and mischievous. Men will be at variance with one another. Women will be at variance with one another. No fear will exist in marriage ties. Wives will rebuke their husbands by incessant noising and chidings. Wives will be the sole mistress of the house, and husbands will stand before them as servants with folded palms. Father-in-laws and mother-in-laws will be their servants. The brothers of wives and their friends will be the managers of the household affair, but there will be no friendship with one own class of fellows. The brothers and friends of the house owners will appear quite strangers, as if they are newcomers. Without the command of the housewives, the master of the house will be unable to do anything. The division of caste will entirely disappear. Far from practicing sandhya, vardhanam, and other daily practices, the Brahmanas will cease to hold the holy threads even on their bodies. The Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas will become the slaves. The Sudras will become their cooks, runners, and carriers of buffaloes. Everyone will be devoid of truth. Earth will not yield any grains, trees will not yield any fruits, and women will be issueless. The cows will not yield milk, even if there be a little milk, ghee will not come out of it. The affection between husband and wife will die out, and the families will be devoid of truth. The king will not wield any power, the subjects will be overburdened with taxes. The ever-flowing big rivers, the petty streams, the small streams, the caves, mountains, all will gradually have very little water in them. The four varnas will be devoid of dharma and punya, merit. One in a lakh may be virtuous. Afterwards, that too will cease. Men, women, boys, all will be ugly and deformed. They will utter bad words and vile sounds. Some villages and towns will be completely deserted by men and will look terrible. At some others, few cottages with few inhabitants will be seen. Villages and towns will be jungles, and jungles will become filled with men. The inhabitants of the forest will become heavily taxed and disconsolate. The beds of rivers and lakes will become dry owing to the want of rains and will be cultivated. The whole earth will be filled with liars, untruthful cheats, and hypocrites. The land, though cultivated, will yield grain in name only. Those who were millionaires, they will become poor, and those who are devoted to the devas will become atheists. The town folks will have no trace of mercy, rather they will hate and envy their neighbors and turn out murderers of men. In the Kali age, males and females will be everywhere of a dwarfish nature, disease, short-lived, and of very little youthful virility. The hairs will turn out gray as soon as people reach their 16th year, and they will be very old when they become 20 years old. Some women will have their husbands and children living, otherwise almost all will be barren, childless. No one will be able without money to collect the merits by repeating the name of Vishnu. Persons will make gifts for namesake and fame, ultimately will take them back, and they will make, if they made them as gifts. If there be any gifts made by one's own self or by forefathers, for a Deva purpose, or for Brahmins, or for the families of the Gurus, there will not be found wanting attempts to take back those gifts. Some will go to daughters, some to mothers-in-law, some wives of sons, some to sisters, some to brothers of co-wives. Some will go to the brothers' wives. In every house, those who are unfit to be mixed will be mixed with. In Kali Yuga, who is there whose wife, and who is whose husband? There will be no certainty whose subject and what village is to whom. There will be no surety that such a property belongs to such and such a man. All will turn out to be liars, licentious, thieves, envious of others' wives, murderers of men in the house of the Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, the three higher castes. The currents of sin will flow. They will live by selling lead, iron, and salts prohibited by the Shastras. The Brahmins will drive buffaloes, burn the dead bodies of the Sudras, and eat the food of Sudras and go to unchaste women. There will be no more faith existing in the five Rishi Yajnas. Almost every Brahmin will not observe the vow of their vows. The holy thread will be cast away, and cleanliness and good practices will cease altogether. There will be no distinction of food, no distinction of wombs, no distinction of ashramas, and no distinction of persons. Jai Mahamaya Ki Jai. We'll continue this chapter tomorrow. Bole Baba Ki Jai.